Okay, prepare yourself, guys. This is Chris with T3 Medias. I am here on the phone with Mike Price. If you don't know who this man is, then you are like living somewhere under somebody's rock. That's under another rock. It's under another rock. It's Emmy Award winner. Do I have that right, Mr. Price? Emmy Award winning and Writers Guild Award winner.
Yes, I have won 2 Emmy Awards for my work on The Simpsons and the Writers Guild Award for my work on The Simpsons. Yes.
And so we're good. So today we're going to learn how to win an Emmy. That's what I'm hoping you can teach me today. Because that's really why I called you, sir. Can you teach me to be as awesome as you are and your amazing career? What is it that you're working on right now? Can you break any news, any scoops of any future projects?
No, I'm currently in my office at The Simpsons right now. We are, as you probably know, the third season of F's for Family premiered on Netflix about a week ago on November 30th. And we are awaiting word on hopeful pickup for season 4 of F's for Family. So in the anticipation of that, we are talking about some ideas for what we would do when we get a season 4. But I can't tell you anything about that right yet. We're hope to hear some good news from Netflix soon.
I hope so. And I really, really do. I tell everyone I come across, all my friends and who I know loves that type of comedy, those types of shows. Just check out Efforts for Family if you haven't. I'm one of those guys who I get offended if you don't watch Efforts for Family or anything that I like. What do you mean you're not watching Efforts for Family? You got your Netflix account for what? What else? But I really
well, there are about 1,000 other shows on Netflix. So,
nah, no, everything. And I came across F is for Family by pure accident. I passed it by a couple of times. I didn't think I wanted to watch a new cartoon, and then that was it. One episode in, I binged it like crazy, and I could not wait for season 3. And I think I think it evolved, and season 3 is the best yet, and I cannot wait for what you guys have in store. Tell us a little bit about what else you've done. I see that Lucasfilms is someplace that you've also a little company called Lucasfilms.
Yes, I was extremely fortunate for several years to work with them while still having my job at The Simpsons. But I would do these other things on the side for Lego and Star Wars. So they were called Lego Star Wars. I wrote several specials for them that were aimed more at kids, but also at their parents or any Star Wars fans. So they were little Star Wars story specials that were spun off from the main canon films, but since they were Lego, they were kind of silly and fun. And they're still out there. You can look for them. I think a lot of them are still on the Disney XD app, I believe. And some of them exist on YouTube, but if you just look under Lego Star Wars, the first one was called The Padawan Menace. And there was one called The Empire Strikes Out. And then there were a couple of series called the Yoda Chronicles, and was called the New Yoda Chronicles. And finally, we did one called Droid Tales. That was the last full series we did. They were really, really fun. I love Star Wars. I was a big fan of Lego. I have a son who's 21 years old right now, so he's not into Lego anymore, but he was. And so it was just a huge joy to work with all those people and get to write for Star Wars characters. That was absolutely incredible.
Awesome.
And those are really fun.
I guess I have some advice I want to ask you. How I have 2 boys of my own and a daughter, and I cannot get them into Star Wars to save my life. I mean, we need advice for a man that's struggling to teach them how to get into these things, The Simpsons and Star Wars.
Well,
I don't know why.
I will say, I'm not to toot my own horn or whatever, but I've heard some just anecdotal stories from people who got their younger kids into Star Wars by showing them first the Lego shows, because they're very on a kid level, they're very fun and kind of silly, and they're Lego characters running around and they do silly things. But at the same time, they introduce you to all the characters, and Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan, Han Solo. And so they're a fun way to get into the show. I mean, to get into the stories,
right?
And then maybe if they like those, then you can say, hey, let's watch a movie with them. And then I would probably recommend watching the original Star Wars movie first, A New Hope, and then take it from there.
Exactly. I think I went too fast, too soon, and and I introduced them to the movies first, and that's where my mistake. I'm gonna have to just make it mandatory, or else there will be punishments if they don't, sit down and watch. But no, that's a good idea. I'll try that next time and see if I can get them into it with the work that you've done on the Lego Star Wars. I like the Padawan Menace. I haven't watched that one yet. I'm gonna have to check that one out.
That one is set during the kind of the prequel times,
right,
during the Clone Wars. But there's some that are, if you're not into the prequels, and there are some other ones that are more in the Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Darth Vader timeline. There's all tons of, like, what's amazing about Star Wars too is that there's so many different shows now.
Right.
There's another Lego show that I didn't work on, but some friends of mine did. That was called the Freemaker Adventures. That's also really good. And then there's the more traditional, canonical Star Wars animated shows like Rebels, and there's a new one. I believe it's about the Resistance. I forget what it might just be called, the Resistance. That they're all really great.
And for your other works, how long have you been working with the Simpsons?
I am coming close to my 17th anniversary of working on The Simpsons. I started working on The Simpsons in December of 2001, and I've been here ever since. So yeah, 17 years. Which no one would have thought that the show would still be around, into season 30, which is what it is right now. But yeah, I've been here since then, since December of 2001.
And you're also an executive producer of F is for Family, and how did that all come about? Are you close with Mr. Burr and just pitch the idea?
Well, I mean, the show originated with Bill, of course. Bill Burr, who, as everyone should know, is an amazing stand-up comedian. He's just one of the greatest stand-ups of all time, I think.
Yes, sir.
And he, in his stand-up act, he does a lot of material about growing up, about his father, and about his family life growing up as a kid, and what it was like being a kid back in the 70s and 80s, when it was a different time to be a kid. And he always liked that stuff. And he thought about doing little, small animated shorts for his website that would be sort of like the original Simpsons shorts, which were on the old Tracy Ullman show, which was just like 1 or 2 minute shorts. And he never quite got around to doing it. But he had a meeting one day about 6 years ago or so with what's called Wild West Productions, which is Vince Vaughn's production company, which is run by Vince Vaughn and his production partner, Peter Billingsley. And they had a meeting just about things they might want to do together. And when Bill mentioned these little animated shorts, they said, well, we're actually interested in trying to develop a full-on animated series. Would you want to take your stories and make it into an animated series? So Bill was interested in that. And since Bill had no real experience in writing for television or doing animation for that matter, they suggested trying to find someone who had experience to team up with Bill to develop the show. So that's where I came in. I got a call just from my representative saying, would you want to meet with this comedian Bill Burr and talk about an animated show about growing up in the 70s? And I was like, absolutely yes, because that was a subject matter that I was really fond of, and I knew Bill's work. So we had a meeting where we just kind of felt each other out and talked about our growing up stories, and he told me his, I told him mine, and we hit it off. And so Bill decided that I was the guy he wanted to work on the show with, and then we sort of developed it from there. He brought some of his stories, I brought a lot of mine. I'd say the family dynamic is largely based on Bill's family, and Frank, the dad, is is molded a little bit after Bill's dad, and some of my dad as well. But what I brought to the table, sort of a lot of the other stuff, like the setting of the neighborhood and the cul-de-sac, and some of the neighbors are directly based on the neighbors I had growing up in my little town in New Jersey, and then I came up with the idea that he should work at an airport. Really, only at first it was just a joke. because if you notice in the first episode, which was the first one we wrote, you never see the airport.
Exactly.
But, for me, it was just a funny idea that he'd be sitting there at the dining room table with his work shirt on, and he'd have that ID badge that just said baggage. Because I like the idea of like kind of the metaphor of like emotional baggage.
Exactly. That he's carrying around.
So he sits there with like a big sign on his shirt saying baggage. So that was just a kind of a joke. And then when we finally got picked up and now we're making a show, we said, okay, well, I guess he works at the airport. So then as we developed the rest of the series, then we said, okay, what kind of airport? What is it? What's the airline? And we kind of just figured it out from there.
I love the fact that the stereotypes that are that are all over that airline and what would never, I guess, work in a real airport today is exactly what that whole airport is about and whatnot and dealing with that. That's one thing I really love.
And then we knew right away that we knew that part of the humor of the show would be the family dynamic, the dysfunctional family dynamic, but also a huge part of this makeup of the show that I really was interested in was sort of shining that kind of backward light on the way things were 40 years ago, 45 years ago, how, sexism and racism and parental neglect was sort of just the way it was, so I came up with the idea that the airline should have some kind of Indian name. There was an airline that serviced the Northeast back in the 60s and 70s called Mohawk Airline.
Right.
So that's where Mohican Airways comes from. And then we thought it'd be a kind of a rich vein of humor of now what is completely inappropriate, but was totally fine then, the kind of cultural appropriation of Native American symbols and headdresses and Indian chiefs and everything. So that was fun. And then a lot of the characters, the character of Bob Pogo, who's the awful, slovenly, gluttonous boss,
awesome,
was based on an actual guy who I worked for when I was in college. I worked at a Sears Auto Center in New Jersey, and this guy was the manager of the auto center, and his name was actually, everybody called him Bob Pogo. His last name was sort of had something pogrish or something in it, but everybody called him Bob Pogo. And he wasn't as grotesque and as gross as our cartoon character is, but he was kind of a big guy who would just eat these big old sandwiches at his desk and sort of issue orders. And so he's based on that guy. So that's sort of how you develop a show sometimes. You just sort of take things from your life and throw it out there.
Two characters that I'm very curious about, and I want to know who we can thank for this two situations. The Jimmy Jimmy Fitzsimmons line. Who came up with the idea to constantly rat him out in crimes that he's not committing to get him in trouble?
Well, it's funny because it's just a thing. That's what's so great, I think, about working on a show like this when the show is relatively new and young, is that everything is new, everything is fresh, and everything is sort of a chance to build out some more stuff. So we had the character of Jimmy as the bully. He's based on a kid when I grew up who had a fort in the woods like that, and everyone was afraid of. And so we had him as this big bully, of course, in season 1 and then in season 2 as well. And we really enjoyed working on the story of Bill being led to shoplift a hockey stick from the sporting goods store. And as we were working on the story, we came up with this idea that we ended up really liking, was that he would be caught, but that he would then, when the guy says, "What's your name?" He was so afraid to say his real name because he didn't want Frank to, come down and
so he just breaks out the first name he thinks of.
That he would lie and say, "My name is Jimmy Fitzsimmons." And then, wow, and it was a great thing. What a great twist it was later in that episode when apparently the sporting goods guy called the Fitzsimmons home, said, "Your son stole a hockey stick from me today." And then Jimmy's dad, who's not the greatest dad of all time either, believed it because Jimmy's, it
was that believable that you would rat your own self out. My son has to be that dumb. All right, that's probably what you was thinking.
So then it just became that thing where it was fun.
Because I believe the paper route man also did it when he ran over something.
Right. So then we're working towards the end of the season, and we thought it was funny, you know, that's what got Jimmy sent away to military school and all that stuff. And then he comes back from military school, and then we had built up to that big moment where he's about to just kill Bill and Philip.
Right.
And he gets hit by the newspaper guy's van, Randy, the newspaper guy's van. And then Randy realizes, you know, I'm going to hit and run. And somebody pitched, I don't know who it was in the writer's room, somebody pitched it, and we just went with it. We thought it was so funny that he would say, my name is Jimmy Fitzsimmons.
Wouldn't it be funny if he also screamed, my name is Jimmy Fitzsimmons?
Yeah, right. Yeah, somehow word got out. It's Jimmy Fitzsimmons.
It's believable because it's a small town, and I know news spreads fast of something like that. It was the second I saw it happen, I was like, wait a second, how would he think to say? But then I thought, wait, this is a small town. That is totally believable. In a millisecond, I thought of this.
So then we move on to season 3. And so we figured, well, okay, we didn't want to overdo it, but we did it two more times in season 3, where it made sense for Bill to do it again. I don't want to spoil anything for season 3, but there's a moment in season 3 where Bill causes some problems, and he uses it again as he runs away. But this time, what even made it even crazier was that he did it for himself and Maureen. So if you listen to it carefully, he says, "Our name is Jimmy Fitzsimmons."
That's right.
They run out. And then a little bit later in the season, it's a little bit of a leap now that I guess the word just gets out that you say Jimmy Fitzsimmons.
That's the go-to name if you were ever in a pinch.
Our Vince Vaughn character uses it, and then we figured, okay, that's enough. And then literally at the last minute, because when you work on these shows, you know, they go through several phases of writing and rewriting, and we rewrite and add things as the animation comes through. So I believe it was me. I thought of this thing at the very end, the very, very, very last episode of the season. There's a moment where Jimmy has now turned, and we discover, explaining a little bit, we discover that he really likes Bill. And he's very grateful to Bill because even after when Jimmy got hit by that van back at the end of season 2,
he saved him. Yeah.
Bill could have run away, but he put Jimmy in his wagon and he took him to the hospital.
Right.
You know, so Jimmy is eternally grateful to Bill for that. And so we really needed a speech for Jimmy to sort of make that believable. Why we had a note from Netflix, I believe, saying, "Why does Jimmy like Bill so much now? He was his bully the whole time." So we really added that to make it clear that he really is grateful to Bill for saving his life.
Right.
So then we added that line where he goes, "He saved my life when I got hit by a car driven by some guy with my same name." So he heard the guy say it in Jimmy Fitzsimmons, and he just thinks it's an amazing coincidence that a guy with
he still hasn't caught on. He still hasn't caught on to yet of what's really going on with his own name. That's hilarious. I feel like life won't be complete until now. I'm not saying that I want anyone to go out and like commit crimes everywhere, but if like for me personally, I think I mentioned this on the site that if I'm ever perp walk for whenever the government figures out what I'm really up to, I think I'm going to have to look in the camera and say it. And I don't.
I know nothing would make me happier. I'm going to date myself a little bit. You know, there was long ago in the 1980s. There were these commercials for Wendy's hamburgers where there was an old lady who had a catchphrase saying, "Where's the beef?" And where's the beef? And then that turned into a thing where during a presidential debate, Walter Mondale, who was running for president, said it about his opponent. I forget who it was, but he said it was about Gary Hart, I believe. And he said, you have all these like grand pronouncements, but I gotta say, it's like that lady in the Wendy's commercial. Where's the beef? So it would make me so happy if someone got arrested. You know, I mean, who would be somebody prominent? Let's say, perhaps a member of the current presidential administration or whatever got arrested. And while they were being arrested, he said, "My name is Jimmy Fitzsimmons." If somebody ever said that for real, I would
I would go ballistic.
The greatest thing of all time.
If someone backdoored like another catchphrase like "no collusion with my name is Jimmy," I would go nuts. I would be so happy if that happened. I mean, just to hear that it enters the
something like that. If something like that enters kind of like the culture in a larger culture in a different way, that would be a real symbol of like that the show.
I feel like it, to me personally, I feel like it's the show's no soup for you. I love that catchphrase. I love the Jimmy Fitzsimmons catchphrase. I think I'm really hoping that it catches on into real life. It was outstanding. The second I was so caught up on Jimmy. The second character that I was very curious about, I lost it. Oh man, I'm having one of those senior moments now. I got so caught up in Jimmy's story, I lost the second person that I was going to ask you about. But I'm curious. I was curious about the. I guess we already spoke about the airport and what was going on. Oh, here's something that I kind of thought of. I was wondering if the character that ran for, what was it, Alderman, Rosie. And it didn't happen, but I remember when I was binge watching the whole season or the rest of the season that I thought that he was going to like win, like not at the very end or anything like that, but just it was going to sneak up on everybody, because it felt like at first when his wife suggested what he should do, and then he decided to do it, you only saw like a poster or here and there, and I remember saying to myself, he's gonna run and he's gonna win and nobody's gonna notice it until the at the end. But then towards the end, that wasn't what I predicted. But I thought that would have been a sneaky and funny way to approach it, because of all the crap that he endured throughout his job, training the man to take the job that you can't get, and then becoming like a mayor out of nowhere.
It could happen. I mean, that's hopefully we'll have season 4. We'll find out the results of the election.
Right.
We originally thought about having the election happen at the end of the season, the election. But then as we got close to the end of the season, we were up to episode 9 and 10, and we realized that we had so much story about Frank and about Bill, and I don't want to spoil it, but, Bill is out there being kind of lost somewhere and everyone's looking for him. And it just felt like, wow, we've got so much story now. We didn't really have time to devote to the Rosie story and give it its full weight. Right. So we did we loved the whole debate thing that plays out in episode 10 and how that plays into the larger story. So we decided that we would then just sort of say, like, hopefully we'll get a season 4, and when we get a season 4, we'll have a little more time now to devote to the rest of the election, the actual election happening, and what happens if Rosie wins or loses, and if he wins, what does that mean for him? And does he take office as an alderman, and what does that mean? So so we really love that. I mean, Rosie's a great character. Another thing where, when we first started the show, that he first appears in the very second episode when Frank takes Kevin to work with him to sort of show him like what his work life is like. And Rosie was based originally on a bunch of skycap type characters that I've seen in various airports, either at I live in Los Angeles, so either at LAX or New York, where it's these to I don't know why, but to a large degree, they're African American guys, who behave the way that Rosie behaves when he meets the customers, where he's kind of like being very happy and, hey, how you doing? Where are you going today? All that kind of stuff. And they're trying to get tips. These guys work on tips. So, so part of the thing is like hustling the tips. And then we thought it'd be really funny that, that this what happens in that first episode of his, that he gets stiffed. He only gets like a quarter or something, and then he drops the mask when the guy leaves, and he's like, cheap ass guy, So that was just a character. That was all he was. And then as we worked on some more, and we decided we wanted to do more with him, then he became more of a real person to us, and we loved his relationship to Frank and the relationship between Frank and him once this union situation comes into view, and that we made up a whole backstory that they've been friends for many years and all that. So then of course, I mean, it goes without saying that we have an amazing cast, And Rosie is voiced by the amazing Kevin Michael Richardson, who I've known for a long time. I've worked on with other shows with him. He's just an amazing actor who really is super funny, but also really acts the part. And we really, especially this season, in the scene, his first big episode is episode 3, where he's at the bar with Frank, where you really understand who he is and why he's disgruntled and why he feels like he'll never get ahead, and that's why he runs for alderman.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that.
Kevin just acts the heck out of it.
I like the dynamic between his character and the Frank character. It reminds me a little of my friend Sean and whatnot. Every they share their the things that they're upset about and you know, the struggles and whatnot. I love it when I don't think it's happened too many times, but I believe there was a situation where I don't think Frank he was going on about what he was upset about, and I remember thinking, like, you're comparing your problems with this man's problems, and that's what me and my friends we do. I like the fact that these two guys, they go back and forth on why they're upset, why they're always angry, and when I first looked at them, they seemed like two characters that should not even be friends. But then something happens, and I'm like, these guys are the best of friends. I love the fact that it takes me there. You should be angry at Frank. You should hate Frank. But then it's like Frank is the one who really has your back. He's a very good character. Yeah. I love it. He reminds me a lot of my friends.
He does. But also, it's a great exchange there that Bill Burr had a huge hand in writing, which is that exchange between the two of them when, you know, Rose is upset that he was passed over for a job for what he perceives as being, you know, racist reasons, and largely true. And then Frank tries to act like, well, I know what that feels like, and he tries to bring up the Irish experience in America
of
being indentured
That's
servants.
What it was.
And Rosie just shuts that right down. That was one, because it's just one rung up from slavery. That's one big.
That's a big
big rung. That's one big motherfucking rung.
Exactly. It's like it's not the time to share your trials and tribulations when it doesn't really compare.
No, right. And then Frank still tries to, like, he's sort of backing down and saying, okay, I'm just saying.
He's like, hey, calm down.
Famine, like that, but of course there's no comparison.
Exactly. I feel like Frank was one step away from saying we still cool, right? But it didn't happen. Yeah. But I'm glad that I love that show, and I finally remembered which character. So I'll keep it short because I know you're busy and have to run off, and I'm still going to hold you to that when I go to to LA and I'm looking for a ride from the airport. And I know you're not going to do it, but what was that? The little brother character. You know what? Do you know whose idea was it to have my kids saying that to me every day now for the rest of their lives? Because it's awesome. I can't get enough of it. I don't know why. It's not your fault. I'm the one that's doing it, and now I spread it to
Well, there's a great story behind that character too. And again, all credit goes to Bill Burr, because we knew, again, these are the kind of things where it's fun on the show, where we'll make up a line just to make it be a joke, and then suddenly, because we said it's real.
Right.
So in the first season, there's the episode set on Halloween where Bill, and it's the first episode really where we get to know who Philip is, Bill's friend Philip, and they're out there getting ready to do trick or treating, talking about Halloween and trick or treating, and that's when Jimmy threatens them, saying, like, trick or treating is for babies, and if I catch you trick or treating, I'm going to kill you. And they're so afraid and so worried that Jimmy's going to kill them that Philip does this confession thing. He goes, if I die, tell my mother that I touched the soft spot on my baby brother's head, and that's why I think he can't read. So I don't know. I'm trying to remember who pitched that, but we thought that was super funny. And so, wow, that's hilarious. So then we go through all of season 2. And Philip got built up a little bit there, and we learned more about Philip in season 2. And then we realized, wow, he mentioned his baby brother, and we knew we were going to do more about the neighborhood and the families in the neighborhood for season 3.
Right.
So we said, well, we've got to see this baby brother now. Who is he? So, and who is he? So then Bill Burr remembered and knows a really very, very funny stand-up comedian named Al Ducharme.
Mm-hmm.
And Al ends up being the voice of Anthony. And that, what is a really amazingly funny part of Al's stand-up act. Al's really funny stand-up, but he does a lot of voices in his stand-up act. And so part of his stand-up act is a bit about how annoying it is when you call someone on the phone and you expect to get the adult in the house, but the kid picks up and you just want to talk to the dad, but the kid is on the phone. And he did exactly that. All that stuff. So we saw it. We're like, oh my God, that's so funny. So we based the whole character on that. We cast Al in the part, and he just knocks it out of the park. And that's all based on Al Ducharme.
So it feels like the formula.
And then we ended up loving him. We just ended up loving him so much too, and having so much fun with him this year.
I'm not gonna make any predictions, and I definitely want to be surprised. I'll throw a suggestion in there. If there's ever a situation where something really big happens in the future, and the little brother has to use the Jimmy Fitzsimmons line, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. You know what? My name is Jimmy. I just feel like I'm just throwing that out there. Nothing. There's no pressure. No pressure. But I love those. I love those characters.
Too is like sometimes you don't want to kill a thing. You don't want to do it to death.
Exactly.
So I kind of feel that my name is Jimmy Fitzsimmons is out, or maybe we might have one more in us next year or something. But you don't want to beat the joke to death either.
Exactly.
So we'll be careful how we use it.
But, awesome. I appreciate your time and sharing those awesome stories and with me and taking the time out of your day to talk to me. And I really have fun listening to everything that you shared. I'm glad that I was able to learn a little bit more about what's going on with the magic behind the show that I love and I can't get enough of. I'm very upset. The only thing that upsets me is the fact that we're up to 10 seasons an episode. I just need more, so I have to start over and watch them all over again. But little by little, I get more and more every year. And hopefully, season 4
thank you.
Will get announced. No, thank you. I appreciate it, and I can't wait to see what else is in store. So I'll leave you with that. I'm glad you took the time to talk to me. I appreciate your time. Anything else you want to share? You said there's no scoops I can break today, right? For the for the future, right? But anything else you want to share before I let you go?
No news yet, but we hope to hear something good from Netflix pretty soon. I mean, they tend to take a little bit of time to gather their metrics about how many people are watching the show, and I just based on what I've seen on Twitter and your stuff and other people putting things on YouTube and creating memes and everything, that it seems like we're getting a lot of people watching it. So we have a pretty good feeling that hopefully Netflix will want us to do some more. So hopefully we'll know about that sometime soon.
Award winner Michael Price, I appreciate your time. Thank you, sir, for talking with me, and I look forward to seeing what else is in store in the future. Thank you, sir.
Right. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
You too. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
I love this show so much, and I cannot get enough of it. That was Michael Price with F is for Family, executive producer, F is for Family, and from the Simpsons fame. He was in his office at the Simpsons office, and I just love the fact that this man took this time to talk with me. I can't wait to see, like I said, more of what he has in store. The work that he's doing with Mr. Burr on F is for Family is amazing. If you have not checked out F is for Family, what the hell are you waiting for? Because just with every story that Michael shared, the show is 10 times. It's always funny for me to get the backstory of something that I just cannot get enough of. The character development, the dynamic. It's a dysfunctional city, not just family, but this whole city is dysfunctional, and I can't get enough of it, and I can't wait to see more. Netflix, please keep this goodness. This I'm sweating thinking about this sweaty goodness of F is for Family. Keep it coming. You guys are doing an amazing job, and I love it, and I can't wait to see more of it. Let me know what you guys think. F is for Family is out on Netflix. Season 1, 2, and 3 is available, and as you can tell, Mr. Mike Price the executive producer and writer of the show. He is having a blast. He's having fun and doing what he loves to do. And I can't wait to see more of it. Until next time, so hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Let me know what you guys think. If you like this interview, like I said, hit the like button. If you didn't like the interview, well, I mean, you didn't do it. You didn't get it. So, I mean, you can't blame me because I'm so awesome to score such a huge interview. But you're gonna do it anyway. But until next time, guys.